avoiding him. Like I said, I'm gonna get these belts over here, then I'm gonna come take Terrence Crawford belt because I said I'm gonna be undisputed welterweight champion of the world. So the only way to make that happen is to take his belt. So I mean, nobody's avoiding him.
Done with everybody else but Terrence Crawford. Can we just do Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford?
I mean, that could happen. We got to see how it go. But, you know, like I said, I can move up to 160 and fight Canelo Alvarez.
Fuck you lying. Why you always lying? Oh, my God. Stop your fucking lying.
So what do I do, YouTube? It's your boy King David in this thing, and I'm back at y'all again with another video. Okay, so before I get going with the video, man, y'all know what to do. Go on ahead, hit the like button, and if you're new here, be sure to subscribe one time for your boy, so we can continue to grow like we need to grow on this channel. You know what I mean? So yes, sir, man. You know what I mean? Y'all see what the title of the video is, man. The real reason for the easy route, right? The real reason for the easy route, right? Okay, so cool. So for those of you who don't know, Errol Spence Jr. dropped a tweet a few days ago, and here's the tweet. Let's read it. It says, "Father Time is undefeated. I don't care, only a matter of time. He look his age in the ring," right? So to be fair, Errol Spence is actually talking about Archer Better Beef, because he actually, I believe, picked Anthony Yarde to beat Better Beef, right? And you know, so that's who he was actually talking about. But I believe that this tweet is very telling when it comes to the psyche and when it comes to the mindset of Errol Spence Jr. and how he perceives the fight with a Terrence Bud Crawford, right? I mean, if you think about it, why in the hell did it take this long for Errol Spence to even get interested in a Terrence Bud Crawford fight, right? I know it's a Spence fanboy out there like, David Avanesian KD. Bud ducked out of the fight because of David Avanesian KD. Right? Tears in your eyes and shit as you say it. Right? But the funny part about you saying that shit is it ain't got shit to do with my goddamn question. Right? I asked you, why did it take Errol Spence so long to be interested in even negotiating in the first place? But you're telling me about David Avanesian. That just goes to show you how far your fanaticism goes when it comes to Errol Spence Jr. But I digress, because even when you say that, it's still cap at the end of the day, because, you know, we got Stephen Espinoza saying this.
There were certain points that, you know, there were a range of issues that, you know, Terrence brought up that, you know, really didn't get resolved, and they lingered out there, and then, you know, then things all fall apart.
And we got Floyd Mayweather saying this.
End of the day, as of right now, the Spence and Crawford fight is not happening.
Damn. So we know that's all cap, but I mean, the question is, why did it take this long for us to get to this point in the first place? That's the real reason. On behalf of Errol Spence, because again, Bud Crawford always offered the most amount of money of all Errol Spence's prior opponents, right? He was always a bigger star than Mikey and Danny and Ugas and Sean. He always had a belt, right? That was the first thing that Bud needed to do in order to get a fight with a Terrence Bud Crawford, which was get a belt, right? He got a belt, right? So the question was always, why did Bud need to wait on the easy route? Why did this take 4 years for us to even get to this particular point, right? And you know, dudes like me, we've been calling Errol Spence a duck for the longest. I mean, at the end of the day, a duck is a duck, is a duck, is a duck. The fact that you don't want to get in the ring with a guy who it makes all the sense in the world for you to get in the ring with, yeah, you're ducking, homie. You're ducking, right? So, the whole world knew that it was a duck, but I didn't really speculate much on why he was ducking, right? I ain't really talk too much about that because, there could be different reasons as to why you want to duck a fighter. Maybe you don't want to take a loss, or maybe you don't want to, you don't want certain things to happen, or maybe whatever the case is, right? But based on this tweet that Errol Spence tweeted the other day, I gotta say that I'm starting to feel like this is the real plan, right? This is really the easy route, right? Father Time is undefeated. I don't care. Only a matter of time before he looks his age in the ring. So you waiting on Bud to get old. That's why he's last. You waiting on him to get old. And again, this wasn't nothing that I was saying. I just knew Earl was a duck. You know what I'm saying? That was the only thing I was riding with. But if this is indeed the plan, then this makes Errol Spence even more cowardly than I originally thought. Right? You waiting on this man to get old in order for you to even feel like you got a shot in the ring with him? I mean, goodness gracious. What has the sport of boxing come to at this particular point in time if we got fighters on this kind of bullshit, right? And again, I know this man is talking about Arthur Beterbiev, but this perfectly explains why Bud Crawford had to get a belt first, but Mikey and Danny didn't. This perfectly explains why Bud was on the wrong side of the street, but Canelo and Jeff Horn weren't. This perfectly explains why he had to take a 60-40, 70-30, and then an 80-20 split, even though Ugas, Mikey, Danny, Sean all got at very least 40% as far as a split on pay-per-view. This explains why Bud is the only person that can't get a guarantee when every other fighter that's been in the ring with Errol Spence Jr. has gotten a guarantee. You know what I mean?
I never was offered a guarantee, not once.
I don't know what the Spence fanboys are gonna say. KD, you making it seem like this, and you making it seem like that. Well, how else do you explain why Bud Crawford had to wait 5 years just to get Errol Spence in a negotiation? Huh? I mean, let's forget for a moment that the PBC dropped the ball on making the fight happen between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. Let's forget the fact that the PBC offered Bud Crawford the worst fucking deal ever in the history of big fights, right? Let's forget all that and let's just focus on the fact that why did it take so long? Again, why did it take so long? Why did it take 5 years in order for us to even get this far, right? Why? None of you Spence fanboys are going to be able to explain that to me. You don't have the answers. Not at all. None of you will be able to properly explain why it took so long just to get to this point, because there is no answer other than what Errol Spence just said about Father Time, right? And my thing is this, right? My thing is this, to wrap things up here. If Errol Spence is so keenly aware of Father Time, right? If he's so keenly aware of Father Time and how it's only a matter of time before somebody looks their age in the ring, if he's so aware of that, right? And he's the warrior that a lot of you Spence fanboys like to say he is, wouldn't that mean he would want Bud Crawford to get in the ring sooner rather than later? I want y'all to think about this for a second. If Errol Spence is so aware about what Father Time does to fighters, right? And he's the warrior that a lot of you Spence fanboys say he is, right? He's a man of his word, like a lot of you Spence fanboys say he's a man of his word, right? He's this blood and guts guy, like a lot of you Spence fanboys say he's this blood and guts guy, right? Wouldn't that be more incentive for him to get Bud Crawford in the ring sooner rather than later, right? Wouldn't that make him want to get Bud in the ring 4 years ago, right? Wouldn't that make him want to do that? Because at the time, Bud Crawford was pound for pound #1 like he is now. At that time, Bud Crawford had the biggest name of all Errol Spence's prior opponents like he does now. At that time, Bud Crawford had a belt like he does now, right? So, wouldn't that give Errol Spence, given this father time comment that he made, wouldn't that give Errol Spence further incentive to get Bud Crawford in the ring sooner rather than later? But here we are 5 years later, working on 6 years later, and Errol Spence Jr. is fighting Keith Thurman, a guy he said he would never fight, at a weight class he said he would never fight at until after a bout with a Terrence Bud Crawford, right? But we're all supposed to believe that Errol Spence made a comment like that out of some sort of strange coincidence, right? Yeah, okay. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. And everybody, and I do mean everybody, be sure to hit that goddamn like button on your way out. But until next time, bro, I'ma holla at y'all. Peace.
That's what happened as soon as the stopper challenge